Howdy, everybody. All right. Can finally see the chat. Apologies for the delay. Hope you understand. It's going to take me a little while to go live tonight. First question I see in the chat is, how do you feel? That's how I feel. I'm free. Like the genie at the end of Aladdin. The shackles come off. 38 years. More like 34. Can't really claim to be a Knicks fan when I was an infant. Started going to games in 92, about 5 years old. Xavier McDaniel, Patrick Ewing. Those teams in the 90s. Started going to games because my parents worked at NBC Sports. They were account executives. That's where they met. And in the 90s, NBC obviously had the NBA before they recently reacquired the rights. And for a bit of time, the Knicks were always the unifying force in the city because it was the only professional sports team in the city for professional basketball. The Nets had been there. The Nets had been there for the ABA. They would eventually end up in New Jersey. But New York City has always been divided. Jets, Giants in football. Mets, Yankees, Rangers, Islanders, Devils. And if the mid-90s taught us anything when the Rangers won, and how the Canyon of Heroes showed out for that, everyone had always asked the question, like, what would happen if the Knicks win? And in the weirdest way, the only thing that has unified New York City in my lifetime to this extent has been tragedy. First, the World Trade Center bombing, followed by 9/11. I know a lot of you have seen the movie Monsters, Inc., right? And I know that's quite the transition, but only I'm capable of doing that. From 9/11 to Monsters, Inc., the entire plot is based on monsters scaring little kids so that they can take the energy and power their city with it until they find out that laughter is like 3 times, 5 times as potent as Indians scared in New York City. To unify people from different backgrounds of race, religion, economics, political, you name it. It was this entire time that only the Knicks could bring people together in this way. It was it. The only positive way that New York City, the biggest melting pot in the world, in the most fractured society, in my lifetime, and I imagine many others, dating back to World War II, I can't think of a time, anyone that's been alive that long, where people have disliked each other more. It's a microcosm of the society we live in today, but to see what was accomplished here by this team and how everyone will share this experience, no matter how much they may hate each other or disagree, is going to be something I think that this generation of New Yorker will never forget for the rest of their lives. It'll be something that you can always tap into. And I'd like to think that what this team did tonight was just a little bit bigger than basketball. And boy, is that corny. Boy, is that corny. Right? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. First thing you're thinking about is a basketball team unifying society. But man, you'd be surprised. I turn your attention to what's happening right now in one of the many live streams across the world and the country, Midtown Manhattan. But I speak to the magnitude of the moment in that way because my personal experience as a New York Knicks fan. I don't know why my video is being so choppy. I mean, can the technologies just like work once, just once in our entire lifetime? It's always something different. I'm so happy this is my last stream. And on quick side note, I want to thank my partners at Profit X who've been with me for the last 2 years now, putting on these shows for you guys, doing Knicks Thoughts videos, which started off as therapy for me because there was really no other way to exert that energy and release it other than speaking to people that were sharing common experiences, that were watching these random ass Wednesday night games against the Washington Wizards and the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, we watched a lot of basketball since I've started doing these particular videos of reacting to individual games. But this is likely going to be the last video that I do because the whole purpose of doing them was leading to this point. But for someone, all Knicks fans right now, I just described the unifying process of the city. And it's not just all of those life factors that contribute to the unifying force, but it's also age, right? So let's say someone in the streets right now is a 18-year-old Knicks fan. 2026 minus 18 is they were born in like 2008. I can't expect them to understand how someone that was alive for John Starks' 2 of 18 in Game 7 at the Summit in Houston in 1994, watching Patrick Ewing miss off the back rim in 1995 from point blank range, watching Larry Johnson and Patrick Ewing get hurt in 1999 to fall short to the Spurs after the Allen Houston floater, the 4-point play, Linsanity, the 2000s of the Knicks just going all in on every single washed superstar that the league had, from Steve Francis to even Marbury at the end of his career. God bless all of these souls, by the way. Which leads to the New York Knicks making a move which was so detrimental, it took them 3 years before they can even return to relevancy of the Carmelo Anthony trade, where they traded for a Tracy McGrady at the end of his career just so they could have the cap space to be able to sign LeBron James for the decision in 2010. I watched MSG Network come out with a commercial that was 30 seconds long, where the guy is walking through Tribeca just saying the words Jerome James, Jerome James, Jerome James, Jerome James. And then he says J squared, Jerome James. teams with Chris Duhon and Howard Isley in the backcourt leads to the Carmelo Anthony trade. In the 2010s, we have Linsanity. We have Amari Stoudemire after the Knicks whiff on LeBron James, and he gets an uninsured contract on the knee. That team with Jason Kidd, Raymond Felton, J.R. Smith that beat the Boston Celtics only for Amari Stoudemire to punch the fire extinguisher. The one time the New York Knicks fans cheered a draft pick was for Mike Sweetney. The only time they have ever cheered. How they were going to burn the building down when Kristaps Porzingis' name was said at that podium. Missing out on Zion Williamson, only to have to settle for RJ Barrett, who eventually leads to OG Anunoby. It's a championship that's been 34 years coming for me. So while I certainly, throughout my previous videos, as well as even up to now, I'd say, I had admittedly always grown a little frustrated with factions of Knicks fans that weren't able to relate through some of the pain or PTSD that a millennial or Gen X suffered, as a kid growing up and being so close and falling short multiple times while being at the brink. And that's why at least myself from that point forward was cautiously optimistic at the absolute most, because you had been so hurt in so many different ways versus the euphoria of just kind of being born into this and your first real run you got so many years left if you're 16 and 18 years old, right? Starting to run out of time over here. All these gray hairs on my head I have one for every single Knicks thoughts post-game video that I have done in the last, let's call it 4 to 5 years. I started doing them after COVID pretty much. So tonight, no tweeting. Like, honestly, I'm quite pleased with my decision to just watch this by myself in the corner. Lights out. You're looking at, besides there being a little light in the background with the TV on, this is what I've been sitting in the middle of for the past, 4 or 5 hours. And while trying to figure out what I wanted to do for this game, I'm so grateful for my morning radio partner in Antonio Daniels, who went out of his way to get me a ticket to tonight's game in San Antonio. And for those of you that were listening to the show, he surprised me. I had no clue it was coming. He surprised me with an offer to go to the game, stay at his place. Certainly grown friendly with his son, his wife, Sonia. I was so thankful that I was the first person that he thought of, as the two of us have become like at least professional brothers at this point. His real brother passed away, but at least for as long as I've known him, man, we've been close. And for him to think of me and offer that is something I'll never forget. But I turned it down. I declined. And I had a talk with him after the show as to why. And I don't really need to tell you all the details, but because he was sitting in the suite with the San Antonio Spurs champions and legends, all of them, you name it, they're up there. I didn't want to be up there as a Knicks fan with everything that's gone down in this series. I didn't want to be a distraction, and quite honestly, I didn't want to have to act, professionally. And I'm not going to sit there and cheer for the Knicks being surrounded by Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Greg Popovich, the Iceman, be sitting right there. I don't want the camera to pan in on us and become a distraction. So I declined it, and I I didn't go because I just wanted the ability to enjoy a sovereignty in which this team has never afforded me until this year. So, for those of you that I told I would be going to the games, I am super thankful for getting an invitation to do so. I could have easily made the logistics of the travel work, but I wanted to be nowhere else but here, just with my own thoughts. And I was able to let it out for a good hour there or so before going live. And I did not want to embarrass myself. So I apologize for the tardiness and the lack of engagement and interaction throughout the day. But I hope you understand why I just kind of needed to be in my own little world. With that said, I do feel sentiments of freedom that I can move on with my life. And the dog chasing cars has finally caught the bumper. And I've always told you that the thrills in the chase, part of being their demise, and then you get to do it again next year. And every time that you get it, it's death by paper cuts. It just makes you want it more and more. And you hope that the payoff is, you hope the payoff is worth it. And waiting 34 years for the way that the Knicks just won it, it was worth every fucking second. That is as special of a team, as proud as I have been to represent a team. I mean, there's been some examples, man. Some of the best moments of my life. Carolina beating Duke in the Final Four, Carolina winning their first championship, Peyton Manning coming back against the Patriots. These are some of my heroes and favorites of all time. And this one's really up there. And I mean, really up there. Um, in the weirdest of ways, I'm so glad it's over. And I have no desire to do this again. I have a sense of fulfillment in which I feel like I can die tomorrow. I feel like I can die tomorrow and I would not give a shit. I don't know where Frodo goes at the end of Lord of the Rings on that boat. That's where I'm headed. I will always be around to support these guys and be thankful for what they have accomplished. But what we just witnessed from them in this series and this playoffs, and how much time and effort has been spent getting to this achievement tonight. Is of all nights for my camera to stop working, internet to stop working. Like, I fucking hate technology. I don't want to do this shit anymore. Nothing ever works anymore. The stress of content creation, turning this Knicks fandom into a full-time job has been a blessing and a curse in so many ways. That now that we've made it to the promised land, I am so ready to move on with my life. And I hope you all understand why. Because this has been 34 years of either fandom, passion, profession, um, and it's just relief is all I feel right now. Relief. Long time coming long time coming, man, since I was there in 94 and Reggie Miller scored all those points in 8 seconds or 9 seconds or whatever it was. Too bad I didn't get to see it because my dad wanted to beat traffic and I held it against him forever. Like the Knicks have been this dark cloud that have been following me around my entire life. And to just be rid of that in this way and it just feeling so earned, like nothing can be done to ever revert back to the way I felt in the first 38 years of life. It is a cloak of invincibility that the trials and tribulations of being a fan of this team and putting in the effort has led to. Does it just like, does the video just goes out for no reason? I'm not even on the wrong internet. Like, why can't shit just ever work? I'm not even gonna get mad at it tonight. Um, as for this game, as for this game, I cannot believe that we had a lineup on the floor with Ariel Huckporty and Jeremy Sohan at the same time. Do you guys know that that happened at one point tonight? Mikhail's missed free throw, OG's missed free throw, Jalen Brunson's missed free throw, 3 opportunities to just put this thing away. One of the most underrated things that happened tonight was the Mitchell Robinson offensive rebound. The guy that I think many of you are so sick of hearing his name in all of my Knicks post-game thoughts. The man that I said would be the most important role player in the Eastern Conference back in November. I'm like, you better get used to hearing this name because it required what is required to remove that man from the equation is something that many people won't realize until the stakes are this high in the playoffs. But at one point tonight, Ariel Huckporty and Jeremy Sohan were on the floor together closing out an NBA Finals game. Let me go back to the point real quick about the Mitchell Robinson offensive rebound. Did anybody notice? No, I don't think they brought this up once during the broadcast. Do you guys know what happens when you get an offensive rebound? The shot clock goes from 24 to 14. And if I'm not mistaken, there was 21 seconds on the game clock, if not more. And the San Antonio Spurs fouled intentionally with, I think, an 8-second differential where they didn't have to foul down by 3. And if that was not a microcosm or the epitome of end of game strategy and execution in this series, I can't think of a more perfect way to go out. I still think it requires I still think it requires Walt Clyde Frazier's sign off. But I think Jalen Brunson at this point is going to be considered the unanimous best New York Knick of all time after that game 5 closeout. That's the most amount of points scored in a closeout game since some guy named Michael Jordan in 1998 during the last dance. It's a great chat. Prim says the Knicks went from inventing ways to lose to inventing ways to win. How good are the Atlanta Hawks, by the way, that they got 2 wins against this team? Nobody got more than the Atlanta Hawks. 2027 NBA champion Atlanta Hawks. Double the amount of wins against the Knicks than anyone else. Oh, Giannis closed with 50. Oh, on the road. Excuse me. Thank you. Sorry. And Henry's. Yes. Jalen Brunson ties the most amount of points on the road. Excuse me. Sorry, Giannis. Obviously not thinking very straight right now. All 4 clinchers were on the road. Honestly, I really don't want to turn this into another 2-hour show like we did the other night. I just wanted to come in here and say thank you all for participating, contributing, and making the experiment of being a Knicks fan so worth it and gratifying. As I don't think I still would have enjoyed it if I was just some random person that was sitting in the corner of his apartment every single night that the Knicks were on. But being able to share some of these common experiences on these games that really no one cared about or were watching throughout the years really makes this feel even more special than I imagined. That's all I really have to say. I could talk about the game forever. And maybe we'll do that at some point, but honestly, I just kind of want to go for a walk. And I don't want to do this anymore. But that's not because you guys didn't do your part. So as I sign off, just one last thank you to everyone out there that has made these last, I don't know, 15 years or so fulfilling and turning a passion into something that became a lifestyle and a lifestyle that I was able to support myself with. I don't even know if that makes sense, but I think you guys understand what I mean. So, on that note, I'm going to go down to the water, maybe have a beer, just kind of watch the birds fly by. Then I'm going to wake up tomorrow and move on with my life, as I've been waiting 38 years to do just that. I'll see you on the timeline.